So welcome to a new guide on this channel, and on this occasion is the VOLCA drum. So this is not a review, it's a complete deep dive guide about this device. Now everything on this guide is in chapters, so if you look at the description or the timeline, you can jump to a section or skip the ones you don't want. Right, so let's begin just with some common parts. Now this device can store up to 16 patterns. That's why you have 1 and 16 right here. Now each pattern can use 6 sounds of a kit, and the slots where each sound will live is called the part. Now that's why again at the bottom you have 6 parts right there, 6 slots where it says parts. And also you can store 16 different kits. So in conclusion, you can create 16 different patterns. Each pattern can use one of the 16 different kits that you can create, and each kit will use 6 different parts. So to select the pattern, you need to go to function, hold it, and then do play at the same time. They start blinking. So you can select one of the 16 different patterns that you have available. I'm going to do maybe the number 1. You can do function to exit, and when you do play, it's just going to go and play that, pattern. If I want to change it, do the same thing. Go right there, and then do the number 4. I don't know. And it's just going to play the pattern number 4. Right. Pretty understandable. So remember, each pattern or program, it's using a kit you created or maybe one that came from factory. So you can change the kits on the fly. So let's say I'm going to be selecting, I don't know, the pattern number 1, right? I'm going to be selecting that one. So that's how it sounds. So by doing function right here, it says load kit. I'm going to be going to load kit. You can do 16. Right? So we can play the 16. I'm going to mistake because it's a function that we are going to be learning in a few minutes. But right now I want to select the first one and then do play. And by doing function, you can load the kit. So if I select the second kit, it's going to be the same pattern, but it's going to use a different kit. So the sounds are going to be completely different. Maybe the number 3 or kit number 5. Oh, of course, we need to go to function and load kit. Maybe the number 5. Going to sound completely different. Maybe the number 3. Now the pattern stays the same. What changes is the kit. Now how can we create patterns and kits? We will talk about that in a minute. First, we need to learn how the whole engine works. Now if you already know how this part works and you only care about learning how the sequencer and the patterns and everything else work, you can jump to that section on the timeline right there at the bottom. You have the different scenes or chapters. So if I play it back, right there you have your volume. You can go up or you can go down. Pretty understandable. You have your tempo. You can go up in tempo, or you can go all the way down and play it really slow. Right. Now then again, you have your swing right here, something that you get on most, drum or sequencers. In this case, I'm gonna go all the way back to 0, and that's it pretty much with this. Gonna go to something a little bit faster, something like that. Now, as soon as you turn the unit on, I'm gonna turn it off right now, but when you turn the unit on, if you're not using an AC adapter, the lights will let you know how much battery life you have available. So if you have 16, it means that your batteries are full. If you have less, it means that, maybe you need to charge them or to change the batteries. Now, still, if you're running low on batteries, on the display is going to flash BT.low, so battery low. Now, if you're using an AC adapter like I am, it will not give you this problem. It will not give you, the feature of telling you how much battery you have left because I'm not using them. Now, still, if you're using batteries, if you don't use the VOLCA drum for 4 hours, give or take, it will go off automatically. Right, so let's talk about the main thing on this device, which is going to be generating the sounds. So behind the scenes, each part has the same digital engine. So you could create a kit where the 6 parts sound exactly the same. Maybe you have a kit with 6 different kicks. That's fine. You're going to be able to do it because the digital engine on each part is the same. It's like working with a synthesizer. That's why right here it says percussion synthesizer. Now to start, messing and learning, the source and everything else, I'm going to be going to function and load program. I'm going to stand on the number 16 and I'm going to go out and I'm going to be using maybe the kit number 16. If I play it, that pattern is empty, so we get nothing. Now we need to talk about the source, what we have right there. It's a source, and this is your main tone generator. And you have different types. The first one, it's going to be a sine wave. Then you have a saw. And then you have different types of noise. You have noise HP and noise LP, which is high pass and low pass, right? And then you have a noise band pass. Now we're gonna listen to them in a minute. Now first we need to know how we can select them. So right now if I play it, notice that everything is, right now, let me go up volume, is standing on the first of all of the different categories, the source, mod, and EG. So if I play it, yeah, we get something like this. Now, I'm going to go to the amount, and you will need to do the same if you want to do the same thing as me. I'm going to go to amount and set it to 0. So I'm going to be doing no modulation. We will talk about this in a minute. And the attack is going to be all the way to 0 and the release all the way up. Now, if I play it, it's going to sound like this. Now, every time that you create a sound with the source, you select the source to generate a tone, you have a pitch control and a level control. So you can go down in volume or you can go all the way up in volume. Now, still, the pitch, since this is a drum generator, is going to be, pretty low in pitch by default. Now, you can go up in pitch, just like a synthesizer, and it's going to generate a tone. Right. I'm going to stay right here because this is pretty easy to hear. Now, right now, this section, this knob, the select, will select the different sources that you have available. The first one, the one that where we are standing right now, is a sine wave. So it's generating a sine wave. Now, what if I wanted to select a different source, not the sine wave? Well, it's going to be this knob. You need to move it in order to get a different source. But there's a warning right here. You cannot go directly. Now, how this works is that right now we are standing on source. Well, then you have the mod and you have the EG. This is like the next level. We're going to talk about this in a minute. So when we move this knob, instead of going to the next source, it's going to move the EG and the mod through all the different combinations that you can possibly do with the sine wave and the mod and the EG. So this is how it works. Now, once you're done with all the different combinations that you can do, then and only then it's going to take you to the saw and the first of the mod and the EG. And if you play it, it's going to be a saw. Now, if I keep moving, we need to do the same. At some point, we are going to get to the all different combinations, and it's going to take you to the noise. That's going to be the noise. Same thing. If I keep moving forward, moving on, we are going to go to the next noise, which is the noise we have less high frequencies, right? So if I keep moving on, at some point we are going to be getting to the last source, which is going to be the noise band pass. If I play it, it sounds like that. So this is how it works. Since each source generates a different sound, changing the sound source will radically change what you're doing. Now, since we understand the fundamental, which is going to be the source, like the main tone, then we need to talk about the mod and the EG. So this tone that we are generating will be modulated by the mod, and then we can control how the volume goes up and down, how we go out in volume with the envelope generator. Now, what the mod is going to be modulation. Mod is for modulation. And what type of modulation is going to be pitch modulation. So the amount will decide how much pitching modulation we will do, and the rate is going to be how fast. Now, since again we are standing on a pitch like that, maybe I'm gonna go right here, something like that. The amount of modulation, we need to decide how much we are going to be doing. Now, there's something a little bit, fundamental that I need to tell you. But first, I'm going to go to amount of 100, something like that. This is how it sounds. You have like a sweep at the beginning, and then it goes back to the original pitch. So the amount is how much modulation we do, and then the rate is how fast. If I go to something close to 0, notice it's really slow now. So what is going on? So the mod, it's listening to the shape that you have selected right there. So that one is going to be a rise and a fall. So it means that when we play a sound, the pitch is going to start way up, depending on the amount, how much amount we are doing, and then it will decay down in pitch. And where? To the original pitch. That's why it's decaying like super slow. Now, since we are doing a rate of almost nothing, it's super slow, but as soon as we go up, the rate is going to go faster, and at some point, it's It's going to be a really fast modulation, and it sounds like a percussive element. You know, that's the whole plan. Now, with the amount, what we are doing right now, we are going to positives, right? So I'm staying on the amount of, I don't know, something like 50, something like that. Maybe I'm going to do less rate so we can really hear what it's doing. So notice when I play it, it's just starting very up in pitch and then goes down. But we can go to the amount and go into negatives. Now, instead of going up in pitch and then decay down, it's going to go down in pitch and then decay up. All right. If you go up in pitch, it's going to be a little bit more noticeable. Right, so this is how it works. You decide how much pitch modulation you want to do, and then the rate, how fast you're going to be doing this. Now I'm going to go to a pitch of maybe that, and I'm going to stay maybe on 30 on the amount of modulation, and I'm going to do some rate. Maybe I'm going to go all the way up in rate, so we can all have the same thing. Maybe you're going to go slow, so we can really hear it. There we go. So we can really hear. Now, the different types on the mod, the first one is going to be the rise and the fall. And we already know how that works. That one works. So how the other ones will work, because they look really different. So the second option on the mod is a sine wave. And this is like an LFO. It's just going to pitch it up and down, up and down. How can you select it? We just need to go right there. And at some point, we are going to be selecting this. Notice how it sounds. Just a little bit different. Now I'm going to go up in rate and I'm going to go up in the amount. Now this is going up and down, so I'm going to go faster. That's it. It's going to go up and down like an LFO. Now, at some point, when you go really fast, it's super fast. And at some point, again, instead of sounding like an oscillator pitching up and down, it's going to sound like a percussive element. So maybe 200s. It sounds really different, right? If I go to the lower side of things, it sounds more like a sound effects. Now let's keep going, moving forward. I'm going to go to the next option. Now the last one is going to be random, and it sounds like random. If I play it, there we go. It's just random. It's going randomly up and down in pitch. What happens if I go fast? If I go up in rate? It sounds like that. Notice all the different sounds that we can create with this, the source, and just the mod. And we still need to talk about the EG, the layers, the effects, and all the other things that we have available. Right, so let's just keep moving forward. I'm going to start from the scratch. I'm going to load the pattern number 16, and I'm going to be loading the kit number 16. So we are back to what we had from before. Now, right there, we have a kick. That's what you have from factory. So we need to talk about the envelope generator. Now this one will shape how the sound goes out. And we can make it longer, or we can make it super short. And just like the other ones, we have different shapes. The first one is pretty common. It's a linear type of curve. So it means that it's going to go up and then it's going to go down in volume, right? It's going to start one way and then go down. Now, the attack is going to be, if we want to smooth it in, it's going to take some time to go up in volume. And the release is going to be how it's going to go down in volume. So, right now, we are doing some modulation. I'm going to go to 0 so we can have nothing. Something like that. I'm going to go up in pitch. We are doing maybe not that much. That's it. So I'm going to go all the way up on the release and all the way down on the attack. As soon as I play it, it sounds like an oscillator. Now, if I go down on the release, the sound is going to start to get short, right? That's what the release is going to do. It's going to make it short. Adjust how the volume dies. And again, it sounds like sounds like that. Now, what happens if I go the other way? The attack, I make a slow attack. Well, now the volume is going to ramp up. So we have like a slow introduction right there. And then the sound is going to die at some point. So this is what we can do with this EG on this mode. So if I move to the next one, this one is going to be an exponential type of curve. Now, the linear and exponential are very common type of envelopes with any kind of synthesizer. Now, the main difference of this is that the sound has a different curve. Let me go all the way up on the release, and now I'm going to add some attack. And this means that with the exponential, it's going to start very slow, and then when it's getting towards the end, it's going to go fast. That is that slow and then fast. If I do the same thing with the release, it's just going to be pretty much the same idea. Maybe go up. Maybe a little bit less. There we go. Right, so again, the exponential and linear curves are something very standard and common. The next one is going to be a little bit weird. I'm going to go again, all the way up on the release, all the way down on the attack, and move on to the, oh, not that one, this one, to this one. Now, this one is going to be a multi-peak. So if you are all the way down on the attack and all the way up on the release, when you play something, you're not going to notice what it's doing. So this is what it does. It's going to go up and down in volume several times. So it will sound like it's playing several times. Now, you need to use the attack for this. If I make it slower at some point, notice that we can start here in this. We can start here. Now I'm going to make the attack slower. There we go. Now we can make it a little bit less obvious. So it's doing 1, 2, 3. Now, what you can do, and it's just going up and down in volume just 3 times. Now, still we have a release because the sound at some point is going to die. So we can make the release shorter. And now it's going to keep playing it. But if we keep making the release short, at some point you're going to get less repetitions. And it's just going to be maybe 2 repetitions instead of 3. And the sound will die more abruptly. Now, still, this sounds cool, right? Right, so this is what the multi-peak will do. So this is like the main core part on this device. How you can create the sounds. You select sound source. They all sound different. Then you pitch it up or down, and you adjust your rate, and you select your curve, and then the EG is going to control how the sound goes out. And that's cool, but we can do better. You know, we can do more things. So the next step on creating sounds is this is going to be the first one. The next step is going to be the layers. Now, let's talk about the layers. I'm going to be doing the same thing than before. Start on the pattern number 16 and load the kit number 16 so we can have all this, we can all have the same kick. Now, when you're working like this and this button, it's lit, it's just like, steady, it means that you're working on layer 1 and layer 2. So what does that mean? So on this device, on this synthesizer, you can have 2 copies of the same sound playing in parallel. So what you can do, you can go to either the layer number 1 or the layer number 2 and start changing all these different parameters, and it will create a combination of the first layer and the second layer, right? So maybe the first layer is going to be a sine wave with some values right here, but maybe the layer number 2 is going to be a noise. So you're going to get a combination of the sine wave with the noise, and this can create really unique sounds. How can you access the different layers? So when you select the part, by default, you're going to be standing on the layer 1 and 2. So everything that you do right here will modify both layers at the same time. Even the volume, this one, can go up and down in volume. It's going to do it. If I move it, the amount, this one will modify the amount for the layer 1 and 2. So I'm going to go to this button and I'm going to be pressing it. Now it's going to go off, but now at the top it says lay 1. So this means you're standing on the layer number 1. So if you start changing parameters right here, you're going to be offsetting this layer from the second layer, and you're going to have a combination of both. That's the plan. Now, instead of doing this, I'm going to go to layer number 2. Now, what if we wanted to do something else, maybe add a tail of noise? Okay, so we can go to this one and start, creating our sound. Now, when we do something like this, I'm going to go to the noise ones. Each layer has a volume, independent volume, and it's again this level. If I play it, notice that we get the kick on layer 1, and on the second one now we have a noise. So I can go down on the level on this one, on the second layer, and we have more kick, less noise. And this is how it works. You go to your first layer, you create a sound, go to your second one, and you create a different layer, and then you just adjust the levels and make a combination or a nice blend of both layers. So if I keep going, I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to be playing this. I'm maybe going to do some amount of modulation, maybe less on this one. And I'm going to be doing less release, a lot less release. Something like that. I'm going to go up. So there you go. So now we have a combination of layer 1 and 2. So how can you go back to 1 and 2, or maybe 1 or 2? So you just keep tapping this one. And at some point, you're going to go to 1 and 2, or 1, or just 1. Now, when you're standing on layer 1 and 2, it's going to show you or let you know that your both layers are offsetted from each other, right? They are different. So at first, it's going to blink on the layer 1, and then it's going to show you what you have on the 2. And that's, what it's doing right now. So if I play, it still sounds the same. Now, there's one thing that you need to be aware of. When you're using different sounds from 1 and 2, since both sound engines, both layers, are not playing the same sound, when you change them, it's going to go down in volume. Now, we can fix this with the effects. We're going to talk about that in a second. But now, since both both layers are not playing the same sound, it's not going to go louder, right? It's not loud. It's just going to be a little bit softer. And the other thing that you need to take into account is that when you're staying on 1 and 2 and you move one of these knobs, is going to change the value for both layers. So you really need to be aware on where you're standing if you're 1 on 2, because if I move this, it's going to move it for 1 and 2, and that could mess the whole sound. It's messing with my kick right now, the layer number 1. So yeah, you need to really be aware if you're standing on the 1 or the 2. So this is like the second part of all this. First, you use your source, your mod, your EG. Then you select the layer 1 or 2, and you just, offset the layers. And the next step on creating sound is going to be adding effects. Right, so let's talk about the effects, and we are going to do the same thing than before. We're going to go to function and load program, load the 16, and load the kit number 16 is the default you get from factory. We just get a kick. Now, right now, what do I want to do? I want to add the effects. So right here, this button will do two things. If you enable this, it's going to take you to the edit step of the pattern or the sequencer. This is like the main function, but it also has a secondary function, which is selecting the effects. So if I play now something on this pattern, we have nothing, right? On this one, we can add kicks because we are standing on the edit step. So it's going to be playing that kick. And maybe I'm going to go up in tempo. There you go. So we have a kick, right? Playing a 4 in the floor. Now, also, this edit step, we can select the different effects. So this is going to be the knob. That's why it says param. So if I go all the way down, we are going to get a bit crusher, then fold, a wavefold, then we have a drive or overdrive, we have a pan, and then we have a pre-mix gain, which is just gain, and then we have a QPI. This is a quantized pitch. We're going to talk about this in a minute. But first, I want to add some effects. Let's say I want to add a little bit of bit crusher, right? So when we go there, I'm going to be moving this knob to adjust how much bit crush we're going to do. And it's going to go, really crazy. So maybe I want to do just a little bit, right? I'm going to move on to maybe a little bit less. Something like that. I'm going to go to the wavefold. And I'm going to go up. And all of these effects will really change how it sounds. It will change the sound radically. Right? That's how the wavefold sounds. I'm going to do just a little bit. Then I'm going to move forward. And we have a drive. We can go really up. And it's, again, just changing the sound completely. That's why the effects are really important. Now, if I go to the next one, this is the pan. You can go to this one or the other one. Pretty understandable. We're just doing panning. And now the other one is going to be the mix gain or gain. So we go up in volume. Or we go down. Or maybe just to, down or just to 0. Right? So pretty understandable, right? Now, right, so that's it pretty much in how we can create sounds and, control them. And it's a great Volca. It's a great, a drum synthesizer. And it's more than a drum synthesizer because you can select different sources, create different sounds. You can create sound effects, percussive, of course, sounds like drums, snares, and hats, all of that. But you can do a lot more than that, right? You have a lot more power when we bring the layers and the sound effects. Let me just show you what that QPI was. Now, if I get out of the edit mode and I move this one, notice that the pitch is going to say it's going to give us some value. But we have no idea where we are standing in terms of semitones, right? Have no idea what the pitch is unless we bring, a tuner, right? Okay, so when you go to right here to the edit step, we are standing, and I made a mistake on that one. We go to QPI, where we use the effects. When we go to QPI, instead of off, I'm going to be turning this on. Again, QPI is quantized pitch. So when I get out of this, right there, and when I move the pitch, it's going to do it in semitones, right? We have notes now. Now, the thing is that sometimes this is just going to be positive, sometimes it will not. Depends on what you're doing. But now you can control and select the correct pitch, right? So that's what the QPI means. So as always, back to the pattern number 16, and I'm going to go to the kit number 16. So we are all So we are all working with the same kit, right? So now we need to talk about the Waveguide. So the Waveguide resonator, this section that we have right here is an effects. So this is a global effects. That's the main difference from the other ones. Now it will affect the whole kit. So if you have a kick, snare, and a hat or something, different parts, it will just affect everything. So with the resonator, what you have two different modes. You have a string or you have a tube, and both will sound differently. So how can you select between a string and a tube? So when you go to function and you hold it right there at the bottom, notice it says string or it says tube. So you can just go right there. Now it's going to be a tube, and if you tap it again, it's going to be a string. So in order to listen to, what the Waveguide will do, you need to do some send. So this is like an effects chain. It's going to send an amount of, the whole kit through the Waveguide resonator, and then and only then we can listen to what it's doing. So I'm going to go up and send something. As soon as I play it, this is what it will give you. So this is how it naturally sounds. And after the resonator, it's going to really affect the sound, right? Now, you have all these different controls to adjust it. The decay is going to be the decay time of the resonator. Now, the body is going to be the timbre. So let me just play it. I'm going to do something like that. And on the decay, I'm going to make it short. Oh, sorry for that. There we go. Notice it's just like much shorter. So if I make it long, it's gonna just be really long. So the body, it's like the timbre of this. So if I do more body, notice the timbre of the resonator, it starts to change. So we can identify the tone a little bit better, right? Now, this one with maybe higher pitched sounds like this one, it's pretty noticeable. But with other sounds like kicks, we just cannot, really notice the sound. And it's because since we are adjusting the timbre, we can really hear it when we have more high frequencies. Then, of course, since the sound is going through this, we have the tune. Now, the tune will just do that. It's gonna tune it. Now, this one works just like an oscillator, right? When you go up on the pitch, on the frequency, it's gonna start sounding like an oscillator. Now, not in this case, just in effects, but notice that we get a different sound. Now, as I keep going down, we are going down in frequency, so is it starting to sound like an LFO? And at some point, it's going to go so slow that we are going to be getting delay-ish types of sound. There we go. Right? So you can use it, even use it as a delay or short, reverb. That's the main point. So think of this, if you're using a reverb, if you take this idea to the reverb domain, this one will be like the main reflections, right? So you're gonna get the different reflections very fast back to you, or they're gonna be taking some time to bounce back and just go back, back to you. And again, if you go really slow, you're getting almost a delay. So the other one, I'm gonna go up in this. The other one sounds really different. If I go to this, now we have a tube. And if I play it, really different. And this affects the whole kit. I'm gonna go more decay so we can hear the nature. Right, so you have a randomize feature so you can get unexpected sounds. So first, like always, I'm going to be starting on the 16, and in terms of kit, I'm going to start on the number 1. So if I play something, we have nothing. Now, if I play this, you have, the different sounds of that kit. Now, what I want to do, I want to stand on the sound on a slot, let's say that one. And what we can do, we can randomize the controls that we have right here to get an unexpected sound. So right there at the bottom, it says function 9 and function 10. And the first one, it says layer, but the second one, it says pattern. So we can create a randomized pattern or a randomized sound. So first we can do the layer. So we have a kick. We know we have a kick. I'm going to do function. Since we are standing on that sound, I'm going to do this, and this is going to randomize the layer. So now we have a different sound, and you can just keep doing this until you find a sound that you like, It's a really cool way. Sometimes you're not going to get, a functional sound, a usable sound, but, sometimes you're going to get a really cool sound. Now, the other thing that you can do, it says pattern. So this one will create a randomized pattern on the part that you have selected. So this works on each part. So you're standing on the number 1. I'm going to do function, and I'm going to randomize the, I did the part. I'm going to randomize the pattern, right? So when I do play, notice that this part is just playing, this is playing on different parts. Now, if I do edit step, we can see where it's randomizing. So yeah, you can just create a random pattern. So if I go to this sound, we can do the same thing. Now we are standing on the number 2. So I can do function and randomize pattern, and we're gonna get a random pattern. Same thing with the other sounds. Maybe we want that one, and we randomize pattern, and we are gonna get it. Really cool, really fun. So what if you have a good sound maybe on the number 1 and you want to copy and then paste it on the to the other sounds? So you can. Now what you need to do is you need to do function copy. It says right there function and then the number 7. Now to do this, you need to say function, you need to say copy, and then everything is going to start blinking. Now, since we have the one selected, it means that we want to copy that sound and paste it to the other ones. So it's already on the copy mode. So what we need to do is to select where we want to paste it, right? We are already copying this. So maybe I want to paste it to the number 2. Once we do, the first one sounds like that, and the second one sounds the same. If you wanted to do the same thing again, we just repeat the process. And now the 2 is going to be copied, and we want to paste it maybe on the number 3. And now the 3, the 2, and the 1 are completely the same. So let's talk about how we can create different sequences. Now, you have 2 main ways of doing this. You can record live while you're doing playing, right? Play it live, or you can do a normal step sequence. So first I'm going to show you how to do the normal step sequence, the classic one, and then we will do it live, and live is just a piece of cake. Now, first of all, I'm going to be starting from a default one. I'm going to start this time on the pattern number 1. I'm going to go to the pattern number 1. I'm going to get out, and I'm going to be selecting the kit number 1, right? So if I play it, we already have some pattern on the number 1. This is, what comes from factory. So what if you want to delete whatever you have on that pattern so you can create a new one? So you need to go to function, and right here you have the options to clear the different sections. And you have the different options. First you have clear all, but this one belongs to the motion sequence. We need to, oh, sorry for that. We need to talk about this one, the clear part and the clear all. So clear all, what it will do, it will clear the whole pattern, whole sequence. If I do play, we have something, but now if I do function and then 16 and I do play, we have nothing. Now, if you made this by mistake, by not doing anything else, you can do function and tap the 16 again, and it will do undo all. So it will do undo it, so you can get your sequence back, your pattern back. Now, there's something that you need to be aware of. If you, let's say that you do function and then you do 16, you clear the whole sequence, and then you do play, you have nothing, but then maybe you go to edit step, and maybe you do something, you cannot go back. Let's say that we have something now. If I do function and 16, you are clearing all, you're not doing an undo. So when you delete a pattern, make sure that you don't do anything else if you want to recover this. Still, nothing is saved until you save the kit or you save the program. So right here, you can save a kit and select one of the 16 places, right? And right here, you can save the program and select one of the 16 places. Now, in this case, what I did, I made a mistake, right? I wanted to go back to what we had on the pattern number 1. So still, if you didn't save it, you can do function and then function load program, and you can go back to the number 1. Since you never saved it, you're gonna get it back, right? Because you never erased it from the memory. You're just working on the temporal memory or temporary memory, right? So that way you get, to navigate the different patterns, create them, clear them, and do all that. Now what we need to do, we need to talk about how we can create new patterns. Now, remember, we are standing on the number 1, and we are working with the kit number 1. So what I want to do in this case, I do want to clear everything. So if I do play, we have nothing. So the step mode, this one has 2 functions. We can add the different steps on the sequence. We can create a different sequence for the different parts independently, and we can do it by, while we are stopped or maybe playing, but we can just add the different ones by tapping one of the 16s. So we have 16 steps, and we need to be on edit step. Now, this is one way of creating a sequence. Now, this also, since it's edit step, it works with the live mode. When we record something live, then we can go to the edit step and just, modify everything that we did. Now, first, let's focus on working on the normal edit step sequence mode. We are not going to be doing playing, but again, we need to make sure that we are cleared. I'm going to do clear. There we go. So we're standing on the kick. We know that this one is a kick. I'm going to enter the edit step, and I want to do a 4 in the floor. So it's pattern number 1, then 5, then 9, then 13, and I'm going to be doing play. And we have a 4 in the floor. Pretty simple. Now, what if I wanted to add more things? I'm going to need to go out of the edit step, and I'm going to just play the different sounds to find something I like. Maybe that one. I'm going to enter the edit mode, but we're standing on the part number 4. So every time that we add it, it's going to be for the number 4. And just doing something like this, we just could create a whole sequence. Just audition the part, enter edit step, you're standing on the number 6. Right? Pretty simple. Now, the bad thing of this is that you need to get out of edit step just to maybe audition something new and just then add it, to select it, stand there, and then go back to edit step and then add it. Now, you don't need to do this. Now, let's say that we are standing on the kick, right? I'm going to go to edit step. Now, while doing function, you can do a silent selection. Let's say that we want this one. So this is selecting this number 3, but it's not playing it. We are standing on the number 3. So now what we can do, we just can add it, at different steps, and then we can just remove and modify the different steps for that part. Again, let's do it again. We are going to be going to, let's say that we never used this one. Oh, we are not using the number 5, all right? So I'm going to be entering editing step. We want to go to the number 5. I'm going to do function, select the part number 5, and then we just can add things for the number 5. Pretty understandable. So by doing it this way, you just don't need to get out of this edit step mode. But the bad part is that you need to remember what you have on each part, you know, which type of sound. Now, also, let's say I don't like what I did on the number 5, right? Let's say I don't like it, but I'm standing on the number 5. Now, by doing function, instead of doing clear all, you can do clear part, and it will just clear everything you had on that part. Now, this one still works like the clear all. If you made it, you made that by mistake, you can go to function and then do clear part again, and you are going to get it back because you never stored or saved the sequence, right? But remember that this doesn't work. If you clear the part, then you do something else, right? It's just not going to work. You need to, it's just clearing, it's not undoing. But you always need to make sure that when you clear something, if you want to undo it, you need to undo it right away. Right, so this is the way we can create a sequence by, using the edit step function. Now, what is the other way? I'm going to get out of the edit step. We can record live. Now, since this has no click track, we don't have a metronome right here. Sometimes it's a little bit weird or funny knowing where we are on the sequence. I'm going to clear the whole thing, so we have nothing. And I'm going to be going to step mode and add a 4 in the floor so we can know where we are, right? So now I'm going to get out of the step sequence. But now we can play on top. And if I do a rec, now we are doing live recording. So maybe I want to... And it's just going to record everything that we do. I don't know what that sound is. Right? Now still, everything we learned on the edit step still can work. If I do stop rec and stop play and I go to edit step, notice that every time that we go to a part, we can see what we did behind the scenes. So right here, we just can edit this with the edit step, right? Let's say that I want to make some changes right there. And you can, right? So that's why I show you first the edit step before the live recording, because now you know that if you do live recording, you can always go back and edit what you did. Right, so I'm going to clear all and we can start over. We are going to do play and we have nothing. And I'm using the kit number 1, just like always. So we have different functions. You have a mute function right here. Notice it says mute. You have an accent function. It's going to be right there at the bottom. You have a slide. So we need to talk about a few more things right here. Now I'm going to be standing on the kick and I'm going to do, a 4 in the floor. And then maybe I'm going to be adding, I don't know, maybe it's a snare. Not that one. That one. So I'm going to be adding that to here and here. And I'm going to be playing it. And we have something pretty simple. Now, what happens if you want to mute? So if you're on play, either way, if you're not on play, you can go to mute. And notice that when we tap it, something goes on. And then we release, goes off. So if I'm pressing and holding, it's showing you the lights for all the different parts. The ones that have the light on, it means that they are not muted, right? So you can hear them. But maybe I want to mute the kick. As I do so, I just disable that. And when we release it, it's going to mute the kick. And you too can do the same for the other parts. If I do undo this, mute the snare, it's just going to mute the snare. You can mute every single part and just, mute the whole damn thing. Now, for that, I'm going to go to mute. And we can do this and enable them all again. Right, so starting with the new sequence, right, function and clear all, we have no sequence, no pattern. I want to show you the accents and the slides. I'm going to be standing on a kick, edit step, and I'm going to be adding a 4 in the floor so we can know where we are. So the accents, it's something we can add on a part, on an independent part, and we can add accents. Now, I'm going to be selecting a different sound like this one. I'm going to go to edit steps and I'm going to be adding that one all over the place. So what I want to do, I want to provide an accent to this. Now, to add accents to this part, you need to be standing on that part. And you need to be on edit step. If you're not on edit step, what you're doing, you're accessing layer 1 or 2, not the accent. As soon as I tap the accent, both are going to be blinking, and this means that you're on accent. So now you can select where that accent is going to happen. Right? So we have an accent right there. And to remove the accent, you just tap it and maybe accent on a different place. Now there's one more thing that you need to do, you need to know about this. When you add an accent, right? Maybe we are adding it right here. I'm gonna go maybe there. I know that right there in the step number 3, I have an accent. I can tap and hold it, and now with the value, you can select how that accent is going to be. Maybe I'm gonna go that. Maybe the accent is gonna be really low. It's gonna do a low accent. I'm gonna go high. And the accent is gonna be a lot louder. Maybe this one is gonna be a little bit lower. And, you know, so on and on. Now we have an accent there, and this one is going to be high. Right? So we have different levels of accents. Now to get out of the accent mode, I'm just going to get out. And there we go. We are back to the beginning. Right. So back to a clear pattern. I'm going to do play. We have nothing. I want to use this sound. The number 2, because it's a pretty, you know, small, tiny, short sound, and I want to show you the slice. Now, this slice works pretty much the same way that the accent, in the way, you know, we add slices. So in this case, I'm going to be adding a step maybe on the number 3. And right here, we can hear what we have. You know, it's just on the step number 3, you have a sound. It's very short. So if we go to slice, now we are entering the slice mode. So I'm going to be saying that whenever we hit the step number 3, it's going to do it twice. So the slice, what it does is a multi-trigger, but it's going to multi-trigger it on the same step. Now, the same thing with accent, we can decide the intensity of this. If I press and hold, I can go to the edit volume or level, and we can select how many times we want this to multi-trigger. By default, it's 2, but we can do 4. We can do 8 if we wanted to, or we can even go all the way up to 16, and it's going to be really aggressive. Now you can tap it and remove the multi-trigger or the slice. And to get out, you just tap and you get out. Okay, so I'm going to start with a clear sequence, and we have something called probability, and this is something super cool. Now, I'm going to be maybe going to that sound, right? And I'm going to be going to edit step, and I want to maybe add it here, and maybe here, and just on different places. You know what? I'm going to be adding it on all over the place. So when I play it, it's going to, you know, play it. Now, just like we did with the slices and the accents, if I tap on that one and I move the level, it's going to say PRB. This is the probability. So if it's on 100%, it means that this step, it's going to play for sure. But if we go down on the probability, maybe it has a 50-50 chance that that step will play or not play. In this case, it plays, and right here it's not playing. So we can go to different parts and select the probability of that step, maybe a 30%. Maybe this one is going to be on 70%. And just like this, we will have different probabilities every time that, you know, it plays. Now, you need to make sure that whenever the loop ends, the probability will reset, and sometimes it's going to play and sometimes it's not going to play. It depends on the probability. All right. The only thing you need to, again, remember that 100 means that it will always play. And then if you go below 100, it might play or not. Depends on the probability. All right. So starting with a clear pattern, I want to show you the active step. So the active step is pretty simple, and it works for each different part. Now, if I maybe go to the kick and I add a 4 in the floor, something like that, and I play it, right, it's just going to go and play it. Now, if I go to maybe a different sound, something like this, I'm going to be going to edit step, and I'm going to be adding this maybe here. I'm just going to do something randomly. So now what's going to happen is that if we get out of the edit step, because if we enter the active step mode, we're going to enter to the slice. So we must be outside, out of the edit step. Now, if I go to active step, now it's going to ask me on this part, are all the steps active, or which ones you want to deactivate? Maybe I want to deactivate this one, this one, this one, this one. And this, what it will do, it will make the sequence shorter for that part. Notice that how it's going faster, and it's because we are not playing this step, this step, this step, and this step, and this one. So it's making the sequence a lot shorter. And you can do this with all the different parts, and you can create different rhythms with this. Just like, we are doing right now. And to get out, you just do active step, and it will just get out. Now you have another function called the step jump. Now the active step and step jump and choke groups and chain patterns, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. It's something very common for all the Volcas, pretty much. So I'm just kind of, showing you something that it's by default with the Volcas. Now, the step jump, what it will do, it will make the step play and play over again the same step. It's going to repeat or loop the same step whenever you hold it. So just like we did before, let's say that we want to, starting from a clear pattern, we're going to be adding 4 in the floor, just like we did before. Maybe I'm going to get out of this one. I'm going to go right here. Go there, select 4 in the floor. Now get confused for a second. And now we know where we are. Now let's say that we want to do that. Right, so simple enough. So right here you have your step jump. I'm going to be doing playing, and I'm going to be enabling. So we are on step jump. Now, if I play this, that's what happens. It just plays that step over and over again. Now, when I release it, it's going to continue playing where the sequence was. It will not continue playing from this step on. It will just continue from where it is on the sequence, in that point in time. And this is the only thing that it does. This is the step jump. Right. All right, so let's talk about chaining patterns. On some Volcas, you have something called the song mode, which is that you can select different patterns and create kind of a chain of different vars of maybe pattern 1, maybe 4 vars of pattern number 1, then maybe jump to the number 7 and do 2 vars of that one. On this one, you cannot do it. Well, maybe some other Volcas you can. On this one, you can't. So let's say that we want to, and for now I'm just gonna get out of the step jump. I'm gonna do play. I'm gonna make sure I go back to whatever we have from before, and I'm gonna be doing the pattern number 1, right? We know that we have that one. Cool. Now, when we select the pattern, I'm gonna be selecting this, but notice that if I press and hold, it's going to select that one, and now what I can do, I can select this. So this, what it will do, it will chain the patterns. First, it's going to play the number 1, then the number 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and then loop back to the number 1. Maybe I'm going to make it shorter, just to the number 3. So you need to hold and then select the other one. So if I release it, get out of the function, and I play it, it's going to tell me that we are on the second one, then on the third. Now if I go to function and play, it's going to show us where we are. Right here, back to the first one. Now go to the second one, the third one, and so on. If you want to get rid of this, whatever, you just type it once, and it's just going to go to the 1. And if you want to do it on the fly, you can just select this and do like this, and now it's going to chain those patterns. All right. Pretty simple and understandable. Now let's talk about the choke groups. Okay, so I'm going to start with selecting a pattern. I'm going to choose the, number 1. That's fine. And I'm going to be loading the kit number 1. Now, when you work with choke groups, what you can do, you can make a sound choke whatever other sound, but you need to let the Volca know that they belong to the same group, so they will choke each other. How can we do this? Well, first, I'm going to need to create an example. If I do play, we have the kit default pattern. I'm going to clear it and do play, right? So we have a nothing. Now, I'm going to be selecting the sound. We're going to go to this one, right? So I'm going to make the release of this one really long. So it's super long. I'm going to go to edit step. And I'm going to say that the third one is going to be playing here. It's going to play here, here, and here. It's going to be a little bit loud, so I'm going to go down in volume. Now, if I play this back, every time that we are playing that hat, I'm going to go lower in volume. We know that it's taking a lot more space until it's played again, right? Now, I'm going to get out. I'm going to maybe select a different one. Maybe that one, the number 4. So I want the number 4 to play on here, on the third one, the 7th, here, and the 13th, right? Now we can hear that the long one is really long and the other one is playing behind. So we have two layers of both sounds. The clap is not choking, it's not cutting the previous one. But we can make that happen. Okay, so first I'm going to go off because it's a little bit annoying. So if you hold function, at the bottom you have something that it says choke. So this one is the choke. So if you do there, it's going to blink. Everything is just going to blink. Now I'm going to release it and notice that we already have something enabled. So it means that this, and this are going to be part of the same choke group. Now by tapping them, we can remove them from the same group. If I do play, the same thing is going to happen, right? The fourth is not stopping the number 3, which is very long. But if I say that the 3 and the 4 belong to the same choke group, the clap is choking the long hat. And if I get out of this, you can see that. Right? Now let's change the number 4, right? I'm going to go to edit step. And now the number 4, instead of playing here, it's going to play on the number 2, right? Right after the other one. So now the first one, which is really long, is going to be choked by the number 4, the part number 4, right after it plays. So this is how the choke groups work, or the choke group in this case. So I'm going to be going again to the choke right there. And again, we are saying that the 4 is choking the 3. If I remove the 4 from the group, it's not going to choke it anymore. And if I do this again, we are removing the 3 from the 4, so the 4 is choking nothing. The clap is choking nothing. So we can make the 3 and the 4 part of the same choke groups. We can do the same thing with other different parts, right? And whenever we want to remove them from the group, we just can do it like that. Right. Alright, so let's talk about the motion sequence. I'm going to be starting again, and I know that it's a little bit annoying. From maybe I'm going to go to the number 1, and again, we are clearing everything. So if I play it, we have nothing, right? So what we want to do, we want to record a motion sequence. We want to do something and record a motion. And we can do it very easily, and we can do it step by step. So first, I'm going to be selecting maybe this sound. I want the number 3, the hat, because it's just going to be a little bit obvious. So whenever we do this, right, we're going to be entering edit step, and we are adding a hat to all the different steps. Now what we can do, we can move the transparent controls, not the black ones, and we can record a motion by going up in value, down, and so on and so on. And we record the motion sequence. Now we can do this by doing record, and when we do so, we just move it. And notice it's just doing it. Every time that you do record, it's going to record 1 bar of that movement and then go out of rec. And when it's blinking, it's because you recorded a motion sequence. Now, I'm going to be doing something like this. And it's just going to remember and record everything that we did. Maybe I want to do, I don't know, the pitch, something like that. I'm going to be recording it, re-record. And it's just going to record this one and this one. And just like this, you can create very interesting different sounds and movement with the same part. Now, the thing is that when we are playing this back, maybe we are at that tempo. If you want to be a bit more precise, you need to go really down in tempo so you can do it right in time, right? But sometimes that doesn't work. Now, what you can do this step by step. Now, we are doing now the motion sequence, and this is something I forgot to tell you, because the motion sequence is on. If we go right here at the bottom, that it says on and off. Now, we are playing it. If I do function, and I do on and off, it's just gonna remove the motion sequence. Right? If I do on the motion sequence, it's going to enable it. Now, we can also clear the part or the motion sequence for the part where we are standing. If I do clear part, it's just going to clear the motion sequence. Now, if I do something new like that, right? So now we have some motion sequence. If I do function and then clear all right here, it's going to clear all the motion sequences for all the different parts, not just for this part. Now, Now, this is pretty obvious. It's just right there. Now, I want to show you how to do the other thing. I want to do a motion sequence, but I want to do it step by step. So I'm going to start with a default, with a clear pattern. And I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to be recording this to all of this. Now, I'm going to go up in the step now. So when we have a step enabled, what we can do when we have motion sequence enabled, make sure that this one is enabled, is on. You can tap here, and while you're tapping here, then you can select a value right there. And this one, when you release it, it recorded that just for that step. And you can do this step by step. Notice that it's only doing it here and doing it here. So maybe I want to do it right here, press and hold, and then you just motion sequence the part. Made a mistake right there. The same thing with all the other controls. Right. So just like that, you can create a much more controlled motion sequence instead of just, do play, record, and doing it live, which is just a little bit more complicated. Right, so hopefully you liked all of this. I'm a little bit tired. I made a mistake and I had a problem with the camera. And I recorded pretty much the same guide twice, the same day. So yeah, it's just, I'm a little bit tired. So okay, so hopefully you learned something and you now know how to use your VOLCA drum. So if you liked all of this, remember to like and subscribe. And if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can go to the links at the description. You have PayPal, you have Patreon. Maybe you can be a 1 month patron and just buy me a coffee like that way. And you have the YouTube thanks, right? So see you on the next one.